What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel, Real Talk Recovery, where we talk about recovery from addiction and I share my life with you. My name is Nicole and I'm an addict, and my sobriety date is July 13th of 2015. And today, you guys, we are going to talk about me and chronic relapsing. And what I'm going to call this video is Tales of a Chronic Relapser. Now, I had uploaded it previously, but there were some things in it that I wanted to make sure that I made clear, and I just felt like I needed to do it over. So that's what we're doing. We're doing it over. But that's okay, because we all make mistakes. Okay, now before we get into the video, please, 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 please give this video a thumbs up. Interact with me in the comments. Let me know, are you a chronic relapser? Can you look back in your recovery history or recovery and addiction history and realize and see patterns of how you were struggling, and maybe you can learn from those? And that's what I'm trying to do today. Is I want us to learn from the experiences that I had. Okay, second, please subscribe to my channel. I upload every single day almost, you guys. If you didn't know, my live streaming schedule is Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can catch me here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday without fail at 7 p.m. We do live stream meetings. We do support groups. We have story times. We have other people come on and share their experience, strength, and hope. This is like Recovery Central over here. It's mad freaking experience, strength, and hope. So many people that are so inspiring, and I try to bring on as many different people as I can, so that way you guys will have different options and different examples of strong recovery, okay? And last but not least, please make sure that you click the notification bell and set that notification bell to all. That way you get my notifications and you'll know when I go live. If you weren't ready, that way it'll remind you and you can come on and you don't miss it, all right? Okay, you guys, so I want to talk about chronic relapsing. Okay, now there are many times that I tried to get sober besides these 4, I think, times that I'm going to share with you guys. But they were feeble, weak attempts. They were half-ass attempts. They were attempts where I tried to white knuckle it, and I didn't get involved in a program. I didn't start going to therapy or anything like that. So I've relapsed back and forth, probably over 100 times. I mean, a lot. But I don't count all those small lapses, because I just count it as I was using the whole time, because I didn't have any significant amount of sobriety behind that time. Like, I might relapse for 2 days and then go back out. Do you know what I'm saying? So these times that I'm fixing to share with you are times where I had significant amount of time, like 6 months, 9 months, 3 months, more than 30 days, okay? All right. So the first time I ever went to treatment was back, I think it was 2005. And I went to a place called Quapaw House in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Now, when I went to Quapaw House, you guys, I had just really starting to experience the negative consequences behind methamphetamine addiction and pill addiction. Okay, I was popping benzos and opiates and just getting into trouble. Now, the kind of consequences that I was experiencing was my parents had kicked me out, all right? I was staying the night at Dope Cook's house all the time. I had wrecked my car. I lost my job, okay? I was working at a place called JCPenney, and I was working in the cosmetic department, and I lost my job because I was stealing. I was stealing because I was high, okay? I was high on Xanax at my job, and I was stealing. And I'm not proud of that. All right, so I went to treatment voluntarily. My mom and dad, they were like, you need to get help. So me and my mom called around and we found Quapaw House. At the time, I was still on my parents' insurance, okay? And so I think that I dropped off when I turned 25 or 26. It was like older than 20. So I was still on their insurance, and I was able to go to Quapaw House with their insurance paying for it. I can remember the day I got there, you guys. Like, I went through withdrawal. They were taking my vitals. And I can remember thinking, like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to stay sober and I'm going to make a change. And I did. I got sober. I got a sponsor. Let me push you guys up a little bit higher. I got a sponsor and I started working the 12 steps. Okay. So I left treatment and I got a job working for this place called Colorado Grill. Okay. Me and my friend Scott got a job there. He was this gay guy. Me and him, we're still friends to this day, you guys. And he's actually sober right now. But that's for another day. I'll tell you guys about Scott another day. So I got a job working for Colorado Grill, and I was working the steps with my sponsor, Candace Regal. And I was going to her house. We were going to meetings together. Like, I was really working hard, you guys, on being consistent and staying connected. And just like it has happened so many times, I let my guard down and I started to become complacent. And the obsession, because you guys got to understand, the obsession to use was never removed, okay? And what I mean by that is I never got far enough into my 12 steps to get to that point where I had a spiritual awakening and the obsession to use was lifted. Okay, I never got that far. So I still had these thoughts about using and getting high. And so the obsession started to come in and I started thinking about, oh wow, you know, I want to get high. Well, it just so happened that I worked with this lady at my job. Her name was Connie, and she was prescribed methadone 10s. And my sister knew her from bartending. And I ended up buying methadone from her and relapsing. And I relapsed on methadone, you guys, and I was hooked on those motherfuckers for a long ass time. And with me on methadone, the kind of person I am when I take methadone is I don't sleep at all. I stay up all night. My hair fell out. I had a huge bald spot right here from where my hair fell out. And I don't eat or anything. It's really, really bad. So that was the first time that I like gave it a good college try, went to treatment, started working the steps, and then relapsed, okay? So the second time that I tried to get sober and actually gave it, you know, a good chance, like I tried working the steps, I tried going to meetings, was after I got arrested for my possession charge. So the first time I went to treatment was 2005. Then the next time I went was in 2009, okay? So in 2008, I got arrested in November of 2008 for possession of a controlled substance. If you guys don't know what happened, I can make a whole video just on that one subject for you guys. But I got busted with methamphetamine, and I went to jail, and then I immediately bailed out. I bailed out of jail and went right back to using. I was on them streets. Well, in the meantime, I ended up going to court and they ended up giving me 3 years of probation. Now, while I was on probation, I thought, I'll figure out the magic concoction of how I can use without negative consequences. And I tried everything. I tried everything, you guys.
How do you spell unspeakable?
UNSPEAKABLE.
I can't remember that.
Okay. And I was like, I'm going to try this magic concoction. I'm going to figure out how I can do this without failing a drug screen. Okay, well, let me just tell you, I ended up turning into a lush. I tried every concoction. I tried everything I could to not fail a drug test, and I failed miserably. If it wasn't for opiates, it was for benzos. If it wasn't for benzos, it was for opiates, okay? Well, my probation officer was like, listen, we've got to make a change. You've got to get some help. And so she sent me to treatment, okay? This is what she did before she revoked me. She sent me to treatment at this place called South Arkansas Substance Abuse Center. And I stayed there for 30 days, you guys, and I learned so much. Like, I really remember this treatment center. It was amazing. And when I graduated, they were like, you should stay here. You should stay here and start over. And what we'll do is you could stay here, you can get a sponsor, and we'll help you find a job. my addiction was calling me back to Hot Springs. And now that I realize where I ended up, which is not Hot Springs, I should have left that. I should have left and stayed in El Dorado. But my addiction was calling me. So I went back to Hot Springs. And it wasn't 3, maybe 2 months afterward, I relapsed. Right back to doing what I was doing, okay? So this last time, okay. This last time was after I paroled out from prison, okay? This is the time before the last. So I went to prison because, of course, my probation officer revoked me whenever I came back from treatment and I relapsed. So she sent me to prison for 1 year. I went to prison. I did my time. I stayed sober the whole time, except the last 2 months I started using hydrocodone because one of the girls' mom was sneaking them into the prison during visitation. So when I got out, I remember the day they let me out. God, my mom and dad came and picked me up, you guys. I had no clothes that fit. I was so skinny when I went into prison, and then when I came out, I was plump and round as can be. Well, my mom and dad picked me up, and they took me to the halfway house where I was paroled out to because, see, the probation officer would not let me move back to Garland County. Like, she was like, you're not going to come back here because you're going to fail if you do. So I moved into this halfway house, you guys, and I thrived there. I got a sponsor. I started working the steps. I started like helping in the groups. I started playing fast pitch softball. We had our own softball team. The rehab did. I mean, I was kicking ass and taking names. I got a job working for Kroger. I was the assistant deli manager making good money. And I was doing so good. I moved into the apartments across the street. And 9 months, I was doing so good. I was 9 months, 3 months shy of a year, right? Let me just tell you. I let my job become my number one priority, which is something that I always do, you guys. That's why I'm so adamant on keeping my sobriety number one nowadays, because I know what I do. I know how I become complacent. I let it go, and I put my job first, and I stopped calling my sponsor, and I stopped going into meetings. I stopped praying. I stopped meditating. I stopped learning about the disease of addiction. And I went over to my girlfriend's house, my next door neighbor, and I relapsed on Roxy's, shot Roxy's for the first time with her right then. And that was what started my love affair with Roxy's. Well, then I stayed out. I stayed out from 2010, 2011-ish till July of 2015. And it wasn't until July of 2015, you guys, when my son was taken from me. And it was like everything that mattered to me, which was my son and my husband, was gone. And I was in treatment all by myself. And I can remember trying to close my eyes at night and seeing my son's face and just crying and crying and crying. I had become everything I said I would never become. I had become that mom who lost her kids. I had become that junkie who chose drugs over her own son. And you know, I always thought I was too good to become that. I was hustling in treatment. I couldn't even give myself a chance to succeed. I was calling my husband and asking him to bring me Xanaxes. At the time, he was my boyfriend. And he was. And they caught me. And that's when they sat me down. They told me, you know, you're going to lose your son. We're going to terminate your rights if you relapse. So I stayed sober for the next 2 weeks, and I came out of treatment, and I wanted to get high the day my feet hit the pavement outside of that rehab. The obsession to use was all over me. All I could think about was one big fat shot. And I wanted it. I wanted to go shoot up and forget about everything. I wanted to forget about how I was a terrible mom and how I was losing my son and how my husband was out getting high while I was in rehab. I wanted to forget everything. And my husband looked at me and he said, I'm on Suboxone. I went and got put on Suboxone. And I was pissed pissed because all I knew about Suboxone is that basically I thought that it was a medication that people used so they could still get high. And boy, was I wrong, you guys. I met with my doctor, my therapist, my parents, and my husband's mother, and we all had a meeting of the minds. And that's when I decided I was going to try and get on Suboxone. I got on Suboxone, you guys, and it fucking saved my life. I have been sober for 4.5 years now, since August of 2015 is the day I started Suboxone. Okay? In August is when I started. So I have been sober ever since the third week in July, you guys. And if I hadn't got on maintenance medication, I wouldn't have my son today. I probably wouldn't even be alive. But those are the relapses that I had that were significant relapses, that were relapses where I actually got some time and I actually stayed sober for a little bit. And I actually really wanted to stay sober. You know, there's this line in the big book where it talks about that we will have the best of intentions and we will mean it. We will really want to be sober, right? And that we'll go into things and the alcoholic or the addict they'll mean it with all their heart. Like, I want to have sobriety. But then that disease is so cunning, baffling, and powerful that it comes and it just, bam, knocks us right off of our feet. I'm going to tell you guys something right now. Through working the 12 steps, I have had a clarity of mind and I have had a spiritual awakening to the point where the obsession to use drugs and alcohol has been lifted, and I can live my life without constantly obsessing over getting high. But I know that that obsession can come back if I don't keep working on my sobriety. I know that I have to stay diligent and that I have to stay working hard on my recovery, because tomorrow it could be me relapsing. So I wanted to make that video again and just kind of like make sure that I stated to you guys, like, I see exactly where I went wrong in each situation. And in each situation, it was complacency. It was letting my job take the priority. It was letting old friends back in my life, people, places, and things. I have learned from every one of those relapses and every one of those experiences. And I really wanted to stress that. I hope that you guys can look back on your relapses and learn from those experiences. And if you can, and you remember, or you're thinking about it right now, would you tell me in the comments? Let me know. I want to hear about it and I want to talk with you guys. So, okay, that's what I just wanted to remake that and kind of add that part in there and all that good stuff, okay? I love you guys and I'll see you guys later.